This is Speak of the Devils on AZ Family Sports.
Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier TV show for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
And I'm Joe Healey with DevilsDigest.com.
Joe, Sun Devil football is back. The Sun Devils have been hitting the practice field with regularity with 6 practices in fall camp over the first 7 days, and now they're heading up the hill to Camp Tonazona.
Fall camp is in full swing. We are in this month of August. We talked about it last week, celebrating the fact college football begins this month, and we inch closer day by day. We are just a few weeks away from the kickoff to the 2024 season. Of course, ASU's first season in the Big 12 Conference. As you mentioned, a handful of practices underway. There's quite a bit to talk about, and more that's going to develop this weekend in that ever-crucial trip to Camp Tonazona.
The Devils will be practicing 4 times at Camp T, culminating, of course, on Saturday's scrimmage, 9 a.m. The public is welcome to attend, and if you haven't been up to Camp T and you're a Sun Devil fan, you need to fix that really quick because that's one of the best venues in college football. But, of course, so many things going on over these first 6 practices, Joe, and we got to dive in immediately to the quarterback battle because that's been in the spotlight. There's a 2-man race, I would say. Probably technically 3, but it seems to be at this point, if you talk to the coaches, about a 2-man race between Sam Levitt and Jeff Sims. Now, heading into fall camp, it seemed like, with Levitt's performance in the spring, coming in as kind of the clubhouse leader and given Sims' career trajectory to this point, that it might be Sam Levitt's job to lose. Now, I still think he's in the driver's seat, but from what we've seen so far, Jeff Sims is not going away quietly.
Right, and it is a very much seems to be a 2-man race, and that's really not too much of a surprise if you date back even to the spring before Sims' arrival. A lot of the narrative, of course, was focused around Sam Levitt, especially at the tail end of spring ball. And then as time went on, ASU got the transfer commitment of Sims. So Trenton Bourguet, even though he's obviously one of the longest tenured Sun Devils and has worked his tail off to get to the spot that he's in, whether you think it's fair or unfair, whether you think it's right or wrong, he certainly seems to be the odd man out, the third man looking in on that quarterback battle, which does really seem to be between those two. Sims, as we've talked about, has a ton of experience, a great deal of versatility in what he does. The turnover issues throughout his career have been a thing. Sam Levitt just doesn't have the field time or the film to really show you what he's fully capable of because he's a younger guy. But this is a heated battle right now. We've seen Kenny Dillingham in interviews talk about how he thinks they're both next level guys. So we're looking for this to be an iron sharpens iron type of situation. And, what we see throughout this coming week up at Camp T could go a long way in proving to be who that starter is for the season.
Yeah, unlike some competitions, perhaps over the last decade or so for the Sun Devils, this competition seems to be like 2 guys just really elevating their game. You mentioned iron sharpens iron, and Sam Levitt, I thought, has been, probably ahead at this point. He has run with the first team offense through all but 1 practice, although coming off of Saturday's practice, the staff thought Jeff Sims performed pretty well, so he got the run on Monday's practice, and that kind of lit a fire under Sam Levitt, who's bumped down to working with the second team. He responded with a sensational practice. Kenny Dillingham says arguably his best since he's been here, and of course he arrived over the winter and participated in spring practice. He really, I think, is continuing to have success with the deep ball. That combination with Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver, has really kind of exploded. And Sims, however, for his part, he looks the part. I mean, he's 6'4", great mobility, just kind of throws a really accurate ball at times, but the consistency sometimes just isn't there. But I think that this is really an exciting race because it's 2 guys who are doing well.
Yeah, and you figure that this is going to be one that tips into the late stages of fall camp, maybe a game week decision sort of thing, or maybe even a, pre-game day sort of thing with this level of competition. But the encouraging thing is that they're both playing well at this point. It isn't, who's going to be the least bad of the options or something like that.
Yeah, so 2 other interesting position battles that we talked about so far. Moving to the offensive line, Joe. 3 positions seem pretty set at this juncture. Ben Coleman at left guard, Leif Fatanu at center, Max Ihanachor at right tackle. Now, we've talked a lot about this offseason about the situation at left tackle, and so far Emmett Boley's been getting a lot of the run at left tackle. Now, he was, of course, won the job last year. At right tackle, Josh Atkins has been seeing a lot of time at the number 2 left tackle. He did get 1 day run with the starters. But the right guard position also is interesting. Cade Briggs, the veteran, Sean Ah, the young kid, they've been alternating. Whoever's been at the first team right guard has been there, and then the other guy has been at the second team center. So interesting battle to watch.
Yeah, and that was one that you kind of thought in the preseason that Sean Ah would be a shoe-in because he got quite a bit of run last year, but the competition is there as well. Emmett Boley, be great for him to have a positive ending to his collegiate career, obviously last season ruined by injury, so great to see him in the thick of things for that starting left tackle spot.
All right, one interesting battle on the defensive side. At cornerback, ASU lost their top 3 from a year ago. Javen Robinson and Keith Abney have been running consistently with the number 1 group of corners, but LaTerrence Welch, the LSU transfer, he's back. He's been looked really sharp the last 2 days. Rodney Bimage, the true freshman, had a great spring. He's in that mix. It seems like that might be the top 4. Now, what configuration of that top 4, we'll see.
Yeah, it does seem like that group has separated themselves from the rest. You know, I've talked about Welch ever since he committed to transfer to ASU and my hopes for him to be a big-time player. So hopefully that materializes as the season gets going. But once again, it's a thick competition. And just because we're talking about those 4 guys now doesn't mean they'll be the only ones as camp goes on.
Yeah, there are a couple of young corners in that room that are making them a name for themselves, Tony Lewis and Kuba being one of them. So we'll certainly be tracking those across the next couple of weeks. But after the break, we're going to talk to a man who knows a thing or two about winning football. New ASU wide receivers coach Hines Ward had a chance to catch up with him and break down a very deep wide receivers room, including a number of guys that are looking to make their name for themselves in this 2024 season. Doesn't hurt to learn from a Super Bowl MVP. Now, how do you think the room's coming together?
It's coming together. I'm still trying to figure out who these guys are. With me being here only like 3 months, it's hard to really judge and find the characters or what the wide receiver room is made of. But, one had to establish the trust and understanding. I think we built that. I talk to these guys each and every day. They call me Unc. They're like my nephews. I got nothing but love for them. So they bought into everything that I've been teaching them, coaching them, and you can see it today. I really like what we did on one-on-ones and things like that. Collectively, when we got into the team, I think we had some mental breakdowns, but I think that was just because it's day one and they were fatigued. So still, it's not up to my standards. We got a long ways to go, but it was a good day one. Good day one for overall.
How are they coming?
What's it been like to dive into this generation?
It's been fun, man. It's been a blessing. Like I said, man, the good Lord created this opportunity for me to give back and help. Not only coach good football players, but coach good men. So like I say, I look at it. My role is like being a bunch of. I got a bunch of nephews who really want to learn the game of football. So it's not just about. I don't just coach football. I coach life. And I think if you take it from that aspect, then the guys really buy into what you're selling. And I told them I'm going to be hard on them more than anybody because I played the position. So you can't tell me the excuses. I'm not, I got very high standards, and I'm not lowering my standards for anyone. So, but I got to push these guys. These guys came out. They've done everything that I asked them to do, and we're going to continue to grow and get better, 1% better each and every day.
You played for 2 tough coaches.
Yes.
Are you that tough coach now?
No question. It's in my DNA. I don't take a lot of bull jump from players. I don't take excuses. My job is to coach my butt off to get the most out of our players. And at the end of the day, you respect that because all players want to be coached. I don't care what level you are. The good ones, if you want to try to go to where these kids are trying to go, then you got to coach hard. I coach my butt off. I coach hard, but I love harder. I make sure that when they do something good, I praise them. When they do something bad, I try to correct the problem so it doesn't happen again.
What are you seeing out of Troy? He's a guy who has great size and speed. After a tough catch today, Kenny ran over to him and said, "You're unguardable. You're unguardable. You're 6'4".
That's the mindset. With Troy, he just has to play big. One, he's not in shape right now. I do know that, but he has some injuries and stuff. But this is him establishing that trust. It's a good and bad time when you want to push through it. You got to be smart. I don't want him to push through it where he no longer can give us anything. But at the same time, I got to push him because I got to make sure he gets in shape and get ready for the season. So we'll find ways to get him acclimated, to get his conditioning down. But, man, his size down in the red zone, his catch radius, I mean, he's definitely an asset to us down in the red zone.
And it's a lot of work here at college, coach. Is it more than you thought, or is it?
No, listen, man, I know what I signed up for. You know, I knew the sacrifices that I made. My wife was all on board. I told these guys all the time, you know, you got to sacrifice in order to get to where we want to go. Each and every individual on this team got to sacrifice something. I sacrificed my time away from my wife and my daughter to be here. I spend more time with these guys than I do my own family. So they have to understand that. So they understand that, you know, my sacrifice, I want the same in return. You know, I want them to put that extra time in the playbook, you know, as well as academics. You know, I know a lot of these kids' parents, they want their sons to get their education, but at the end of the day, I know where these kids want to go. Every kid in here wants to play at the next level. So my job is to give them a good foundation so they can have the tools and skill set and technique. So if you're blessed enough to make it at the next level, you're already prepared and you develop and you're ready to go. If not, then just carry all the things that I've said and taught in the classroom and on the field, and it'll carry along with you in life. So I'm honored and glad to be here. I'm proud as hell to be the Arizona State wide receiver coach, and I'm going to coach my butt off.
You have to give this younger generation a history lesson a little bit. You pull up any of your old clips.
It's not about me.
I like to go over the middle and block.
No. Listen, I know some of the characteristics that I want. You know, for me, I did a thing with the players. I made them pick their own identity, and we all voted on it. And it wasn't my identity. It was something that now they have ownership in. Being reliable, competitive, and tough. Those were the three identities that they picked. I said, well, it's what you guys signed up for. So when you step on that football field, I need to see at least one of those characteristics that needs to be displayed each and every day, and I'm gonna hold them accountable to that. It wasn't my idea; it was their team, and they voted on it as a group. So ASU wide receivers, that's our identity. We're gonna be reliable, we're gonna be competitive as all get out, and we're gonna be mentally and physically tough. So that's what I need to see on tape each and every day.
Before Ben, you played for a number of quarterbacks. You know, what's the key to developing chemistry, you know, from the wide receiver perspective of that combination?
It's not just about the X's and O's, man. It's what these guys do when they leave the facility. Are they hanging out? You know, I played on teams we probably weren't the most talented teams, but we were a very close-knitted team. You know, we always hung out together. We went out to eat. We knew I was scared to fail my brother. You know, I was scared to make a mistake for my brother, and that's what I'm trying to build. The culture in our room, especially the wide receiver room, understanding that when you block, you got to block like all get out for your brother. You know, you have to understand that. So the culture that I'm trying to generate, which we're slowly doing, and I think that comes within time. But you got to have that chemistry. Chemistry is everything. You know, especially when it's fourth quarter, you need to make a play. You look at somebody, you know, a lot of these guys know who their go-to guys are. You know, I think Jordan and Sam are really trying to develop, that rapport with each other. We came down here and made a nice pitch and catch down in the red zone. They're starting to develop that, So I'm excited to see what those two do this season. I think they're going to have a big year, but all of our guys, just hanging out with each other and being able to play for each other. That's what it's all about. I tell guys, when you see that Sun Devil brotherhood in our big team meeting room, that stands for something.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Now, there are a number of new faces in Arizona State's fall camp, whether they're transfers or members of the recruiting class, true freshmen getting their first taste of college football action. One of the more intriguing is Jason Brown, a 4-star running back in the 2024 class. He came to Tempe from the Seattle area, getting his first taste of the desert heat, but I had a chance to catch up with him about what lies ahead at Camp T, his role in the offense, and goals for his freshman season.
Yeah, like how are you hanging with this heat being a Pacific Northwest guy?
It's definitely an adjustment. When I left home to actually come down here, it was about 60 and rainy. So when I get here and it's 108 on a normal Tuesday, it's definitely a change of pace for me.
And then today, ramping up the humidity a little bit. I mean,
yeah.
Yikes.
Luckily, we transitioned inside. We finished the practice strong in here, but it was definitely, it took a lot of effort, just to continue to push outside and give it our all. But I feel like the team did a good job.
So 5 days of practice under your belt now at the college level. What kind of jumps out to you? How's the speed of the game?
It's definitely an adjustment, like I said. I played 4 years of varsity back in Seattle. So by senior year, things just started to flow for me. Then it felt like I just took a complete 180. So just getting used to the game speed, getting used to the aggression, and really just guys ripping at the ball. They don't do that as much at the high school level, but now it's definitely a big emphasis to protect the ball, keep it high and tight, make sure that you have all 5 points of pressure, and that the ball is the most important thing.
Why was Arizona State the right place for you?
I had a really long recruiting process. Got my first offer my freshman year. But, you know, when it really comes down to it, relationship. I've known Coach Dillingham since my sophomore year. So, you know, and he's a great coach. He's great at what he does. He was an amazing OC, and I believe that he'll be an even better head coach. I fully believe in that. So when it came down to finally make my decision, you know, evaluating some of the places, I just felt like ASU was the best place for me, fit, scheme, and relationship-wise.
Now, getting to be in this program for the last few weeks, and being a guy coming over the summer, being a part of this program, what's your read on kind of the vibe, the culture, now that you're a part of it in it day-to-day?
Usually with teams that have a big turnaround like we have, as in like new guys coming in, you usually see a lot of big eyes, little U's on the team, but not with this team, not with the staff. There's a big emphasis on brotherhood. There's a big emphasis on togetherness and just making sure that everyone's on the same accord. Every single back has been helping me, you know, learn the playbook. Every coach has been helping me. Every single player feels like a brother to me already.
Sean Aguano's got a pretty good track record of developing very productive running backs at the college level. You know, just working with him for these 5 practices and, you know, heading into camp, what kind of jumps out to you most about what impact he can make with you?
I mean, really just his emphasis on attention to detail. I ran in the Veer in high school, so it was a lot of just straight ahead power, gap scheme. You have a lead blocker out of fullback. Here it's a lot of, you know, reading and finding your own holes and pass pro and slipping out into routes. In high school I only had 2 career receptions. So things like that is definitely an adjustment, but I feel like with him, you know, focusing in on me and coaching me up, I feel like those are things that I can add to my game that will help me translate to the next level like the rest of the backs.
You're getting a break from the heat, going up to Camp Tonazona here in a couple days. What have you heard about what to expect there?
Not the most pleasant things, I must admit. But I just heard that it's a really good bonding activity for the team, creates a lot of togetherness. It's high-level competition. Guys are focused in, guys are ready to go, and this will be a true testament to what this team can be later on in the fall.
Yeah, you're looking forward to just, you know, getting off the grid a little bit. Cell phones aren't working too well, and just, you know,
look, my phone's been off the grid since fall camp started.
So, you know, now that you've been in this offense for a little bit, you know, what is it like just, you know, in terms of the Arroyo, Dillingham scheme as to what they ask of the running backs?
Like I said, it's a big adjustment from what I'm used to. I believe like the past 3 practices up until today, I've had more receptions than carries, which has been a really fun transition for me. It's been a fun thing to add to my game. I always felt like I could work in space, and now I get a prime opportunity to show that with being involved in the receiving game.
I've been covering the team for about 14 years now. I don't remember a backfield this deep. What is it like just, you know, in that room, that chemistry and rapport with you guys, at the same time, you know, being competitive and battling for playing time?
Like I said, a lot of the guys have been, you know, just reaching out to me on their off time, making sure that, you know, I'm learning everything I need to do, whether that's getting in with me at 5:30 in the morning every day, or, you know, that's just happening with me before bed, making sure that I go over my playbook and making sure that things are locked and loaded for the next day. It's competitive. I feel like everyone here is trying to find out who they are to this team and find out their role so they can just help us be a winning program.
What are your goals for the rest of fall camp? You know, what would you like to kind of show this coaching staff over the next few weeks?
Just continue to develop. Jumping from college, jumping from high school to college is a transition, of course, but I mean, just focusing on my development, making sure that I can step up to the plate when my number is called.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Now, with fall camp in full swing, the Devils are heading up the hill to Camp Tonazona. It's a place of significant importance to Sun Devil lore, Sun Devil history, and as they're hoping, the Sun Devil present and future. Joe, I mean, obviously you're one of the top Sun Devils you'll find anywhere. What is your feeling and your memories of Camp Tonazona?
I mean, first and foremost, if you ask me, there's no greater tradition in Sun Devil athletics than Camp Tonazona. You know, it's something so special, so unique, so different, you know, as far as just the environment, the weather, you name it. It's very, very different from what you experienced in August, early August in Tempe, Arizona. Of course, ASU has been going there since the Cush days with some departures here and there. It's just a great opportunity to get away not only from the heat, but just to get around the people that support the same things that you do. It's always a great time there. My memories of Camp T go back quite a ways. I think of, gosh, I must have been late. It was like the late 90s. I was in high school. I remember that my dad used to broadcast the scrimmage. I remember he and Mark Asher, if Sun Devils watching this, remember the days that Mark Asher was involved in the broadcast as the sideline analyst. I remember them doing that. I remember, meeting guys like J.R. Redmond and Todd Heap and that sort of thing, and them just being larger than life at that time, even though I was a teenager. And, through as the years passed, just to go get a glimpse of the team, get a glimpse of those newcomers, those, high profile recruits that you were hearing about. It's just always an awesome time. And it's great to see Sun Devils turn out for it, just to see them lined up the hills. And, you make that drive down and you park and you walk through that curvy little road down to the football field and you see it. And it's so picturesque. It's like something out of a movie when you get that glimpse of the field, which of course these days is maintained incredibly. And kudos to those who are involved with that. So, like I said, it is something that holds a lot of great memories for folks. Obviously, it's great that ASU continues to go there after years ago when there was a time they didn't. So to me, it's one of the best things about Sun Devil football.
With Kenny Dillingham being an ASU alum, he knows the importance that Camp T has. And this year they're going up for 4 days, which is a nice little increase. They've been going about 3 days over the last couple years, so you have an extra day up there. And he's even said that, from a football perspective, it's kind of disadvantageous for the team because they're leaving their high-tech facilities. They don't have necessarily all the high production, the film room, all the great amenities that the football complex has. But you get out there in the middle of the forest and the team bonding, the brotherhood. I mean, even beyond just kind of the development and the position battles we talked about, it's the bonding and the brotherhood that seems to be the most impactful for any Sun Devil team, but especially for the ones that really make a run during their respective seasons.
Yeah, we've heard so many stories over the years from players, especially from maybe the 1990s, early 2000s, that sort of thing. Of course, the Rose Bowl team from 1996 and all of that, and what that meant to them after such a long spell of mediocrity, losing seasons, barely over 500 seasons. That Camp T appearance in 1996, by the accounts of those who were there, really set the standard and was the catalyst for that season. So the time that's spent, obviously back in the day, it used to be the whole thing. Like they were there for a lot longer. It's a very different deal, in the 90s and 80s and before than it is right now. But it can really make a significant impact on the team's cohesiveness and the wins and losses down the road. You can really credit a team's record for ASU, based on some of the experiences they have in the preseason. And Camp T is obviously a huge part of that.
All right, we got just about under a minute left, Joe. So obviously they're going to be up there 4 days. Full pads the first time in fall camp. What position battles are you looking for while the guys are between the pines?
Honestly, I'm just going to stick with the same ones that we've been going through because we're comfortable in a handful of areas. Just want to see if a quarterback separates, or is it going to be neck and neck? And then we want to see that offensive line solidify as well.
Also, another area to watch are the specialists. Punter and kicker remain unsettled at this point. A number of guys have been getting after it a little bit. Earlier this week, we were able to see some of the guys really kind of, at least in terms of the media visible portion of practice, get after it. But that's still going to be a big question mark with a lot of close games for the Devils in season 1 of the Big 12. So a lot of action that is going to be happening up at Camp Tonazona. If you're able to, head out there Saturday morning, 9 a.m., and Joe and I will be back next week as we break down everything that happened at Camp Tonazona and set the stage for the rest of fall camp.